Hey travelers, Marcello here, founder of The Wandering Trader. Wanted to talk today about the best countries to visit in 2017. I just finished recording a video on my favorite countries after traveling around the world for about 9 years. I've been to over 90 countries now. I've lived in 12 countries spanning 5 continents. I've kind of been everywhere except Asia. I haven't traveled as much, but thankfully I have a lot of travel blogger friends and other friends that have traveled quite a bit through the region to kind of let me know their favorites and make a good list for you guys to visit this year. Lonely Planet just came out with this as well. They agree with me that you should go and visit Colombia. I think Colombia still has quite a bad reputation when it comes to being safe and things like that, but hopefully the new peace agreement that they signed with the FARC, one of the guerrilla groups, hopefully that'll kind of entice you guys to go. As I mentioned in the last video as well, Colombia is an absolutely incredible place. It has beaches, mountains, the people are great. For those of you guys that are watching this, obviously the women are beautiful. I don't condone any underage stuff, so keep it above 18, guys. It's great. It's an absolutely beautiful place. You could spend a few days there. I recommend you guys go to Medellin. If any of you guys come to Medellin, holler at me at the site wanderingtrader.com. I'd be happy to meet up with you guys if I have the time. We just opened up an office there as well. Great investments. It's super cheap. The dollar right now, I don't think it's ever been a better time to travel anywhere in the world for those of you guys that use the US dollar, because for us, you know, right now the euro is almost at parity, which means it's almost 1-to-1. The UK pound is at a 31-year low. Instead of being £2 for $1, it's 1.10. You know, in Colombia as well. I mean, it's just super cheap to travel anywhere. So if there was ever a time that you wanted to start traveling around the world or traveling in general, now would be the time before the dollar goes back down again, because it won't last long. It'll last for a little bit longer, but it won't last forever, obviously. So Colombia, I would definitely put on the top of your list, and most of you guys that you're watching from the United States, it's a really 3-hour, 4-hour flight. A lot of times they have direct flights from Houston, Miami, New York, from all over the US, so I definitely recommend Colombia quite a bit. Only a few things that I'd keep in mind is Bogota and Cali are a little bit dicey. Bogota, there's a little bit to see in Bogota. Watch out for the taxis. You can definitely use Uber. That's one of the things I'm going to do a video about, things to know before visiting Colombia. Definitely use Uber, and just make sure you sit in the front seat, because they still have quite a bit of trouble with Uber there. Cali is cool. Not that much to see. It's really just about going to dance salsa and party and have a good time. So keep that in mind. The next one I have on the list for you guys, let me see here, is Ethiopia. Ethiopia for me is one of the countries that is extremely impressive, that most people don't even know about. It has great history, great people, great food. Now is when Ethiopia is kind of growing up, especially for those of you guys that are my age or older. All we think about is the famine that they had years ago. And I mean, it's just an incredible place. I lived there for about 3 or 4 months. I've been dying to go back to kind of, it's when I started my day trading academy there, sitting in a hotel working with Wi-Fi. So I kind of been wanting to go back to kind of experience that one more time. But definitely recommend that. Another one I have on the list here is Argentina. So I'm kind of working my way around. Argentina is a country that used to be a bit dangerous. Now with the new government, things are getting a lot better. But it's one of the countries that you can see everything within 2 hours. Whether it's a desert or penguins or snowboarding or the beach or, you know, a cosmopolitan city like Buenos Aires, the wineries in Mendoza. it's incredible. It's an incredible place. That's one of the first countries that I traveled to. I lived there for 6 or 7 months, and the prices are definitely going to go up since now the new government is doing the right things and opening up the country, getting rid of the economic restrictions. So it's a beautiful country. I definitely recommend that you guys visit. For U.S. citizens, make sure you don't need a visa. I think they dropped the visa recently, but I think that they put in the visa restrictions for us a few years ago, but I think they dropped them. But double check on that before you go to visit. Myanmar, I definitely put on the list. Myanmar is a country that was kind of, let's say, on the blacklist, like North Korea, for example. But recently, they've been opening up the country quite a bit. So if you want to go to a place, you know, I traveling around the world, I think it's great to visit and kind of see authentic things. And one of the problems, obviously, with globalization is that that's going away. And everybody has McDonald's and internet and everything, you know, polo shirts and Tommy Hilfiger, all that. So Myanmar is still one of those places where it's still raw. You know, it's still really, really authentic and great to visit. I've never personally been, but I have a friend of mine, Maria from Latina Abroad, who actually went to visit. She told me it was great, so I definitely recommend that as well. On the east side, far east, China is great. There's plenty to see. I think most of the things in China aren't even completely excavated yet. For example, the soldiers, they haven't even completely done that yet. Ton of things to see, and obviously China's opening up to the world. New Zealand is a country that I think a lot of us don't consider going because of the cost, obviously, and it's on the other side of the world. It's like a 30-40 hour flight for most of us in the US, but it's incredibly beautiful. I definitely recommend it. That's where Lord of the Rings was filmed, if you guys didn't know that. One last one in the Far East, Vietnam, I think is, spoke to a friend of mine. I've never been. Again, I'm taking the word of a few of my friends because I asked a lot of my friends who travel around the world for a living what they would recommend, and they said it's still really affordable to visit Vietnam, and it's far less crowded than the rest of the country. So I definitely recommend Vietnam. Coming back to Europe, the last 3 countries I'd recommend are Morocco, Greece, and Estonia. Morocco obviously is one of the few countries in the Middle East, or the Arab countries, that's still pretty safe to go to and is still pretty reasonably priced. So I definitely recommend that. Greece, after that crisis that they had in the last few years, is extremely cheap. I would advise you guys, especially the women traveling solo, to be a little bit careful. Obviously, they don't report this in the news as much in the United States, but there's been quite a bit of problems there with, let's say, single girls getting attacked and things like that. So keep an eye out on that, ladies, if you're traveling there on your own. But Greece, obviously, you guys know the history that it has, and it's really cheap compared to the rest of the continent right now because of the crisis that they had and the costs and everything associated with that. I recently came from Santorini, which, you know, obviously, if you guys don't know Santorini, I might put a picture up here in the video so you guys can see. I've been there twice now, and it's absolutely impressive. Just a few things about Europe. I definitely would avoid July and August. It gets deathly hot. We're talking, you know, 40 degrees, or for you guys in the US, 100 degrees with 100% humidity. It's just not pleasant at all. I'd recommend you guys go on the outer edge of the summer, so maybe April, June, early June, or after August, like September. October is already getting a little bit cold, so I'd recommend probably September. Then that way you won't have as much tourists, and also you'll be able to enjoy your time because obviously the weather will be a lot nicer as well, so keep that in mind. One country that most of you guys may not consider is Estonia. Estonia is a really small country towards the north of Europe, and I never even heard about it years ago when I was doing research about places to visit. It's really quaint and beautiful, typical European place to visit, but I definitely recommend visiting there. I've never been, but one of my family members has been, and he says that it's absolutely amazing, especially since, you know, I try to stay away from all the popular kind of cliche places that everybody wants to visit in Europe. When I first started my traveling career, let's say, I always wanted to go to places that weren't on the map, you know, places like South Sudan, Somalia, things like that. So I tried not to say things like Spain and Italy and Germany and Switzerland, France, all the kind of standard places that everybody goes to visit, the most visited countries in the world. But one of the things I do have to say that Italy, probably most than other ones, it is just truly impressive. So if you're going to make a trip around Europe, one of the things I recommend also is don't try to go and see everything, because you're going to spend more times on trains and buses and planes rather than kind of enjoying the moment or seeing the things that you should, etc., etc. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Those are definitely the things that or the countries I would say that you should visit in 2017. Go out and visit them. The dollar's cheap. And we'll let me know if you guys have any questions, and we'll talk to you soon. Ciao.